is talking about up there. So definitely very impactful.
While the peaks of Haleakala have been known to see a dusting of snow, we're told there hasn't been a snowfall like this one since 1952, when Haleakala saw snowfall recorded at around 7,500 feet. It's all thanks to a Kona low.
Because this system was so cold aloft and so strong, those lower temperatures helped any precip that was falling to fall as snow.
Breaking news right now out of Cuba.
Social media lighting up over a strange sighting in the skies. Let's get right to Local 10's Hatzel Vela, who's joining us now over the phone. Hatzel.
Calvin, I can tell you by all accounts, this is a meteorite that landed in the Vinales area on the western side of Cuba. Let's go ahead and show you video from the sky from witnesses that took it shortly after they heard several explosions. Now, the video that you're watching right now was taken in Pinal del Rio in the city, but by all accounts, this landed in the smaller town, very touristic town of Vinales. Let's go and show you that map so you can get a sense of where we are talking about. And following the map, you're going to start to see pictures of rocks. These are rocks collected by folks who live in Vinales, who again heard and saw the explosion. Apparently, this meteorite did do some damage at a home, just one particular house, and the folks living in nearby that area did get to see some of the rocks that you're seeing in those pictures. This is near what they call the prehistoric mural, which is a huge attraction to tourists. Again, in the town of Vinales, at this point, we're not sure if anyone was hurt. We're not getting any word that anybody may have been hurt. But again, quite the scene. The entire western side of Cuba heard and then saw the smoke of what appears to be a meteorite. We are headed to that area of Cuba and should bring you pictures as soon as we get there.
And Hatzel, if I'm not mistaken, this is sort of the countryside of Cuba, correct?
Yes, and that's a good thing because there's fewer folks living in that area. Although Vinales, you can argue, is pretty populated because it's such a big tourist destination. But we can tell you that this meteorite likely fell in an area that's desolated, not populated by too many people.
Hatzel, on social media, I mean, are people a little bit freaked out right now? I mean, after a tornado Sunday night that killed 4 people, very rare there, and now a meteorite falls from the sky. People must be just baffled.
It doesn't seem to end, Lori, and that you're right. You're talking about two phenomena that you never or rarely see here in Cuba. And so when we started hearing the news, first they thought it was an explosion.
Did you feel it? There was a big earthquake off the Big Island at 9:07 this morning. The magnitude 4.6 quake was centered southwest of Hawaiian Ocean View. Many people reported feeling it, especially in the Kailua Kona area, but no reports of any major damage. And there was no tsunami threat from that earthquake.
2018 was marked by natural disasters that ravaged the U.S. from coast to coast. In California, the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in state history killed more than 80 people. In the Carolinas, Hurricane Florence shattered rainfall and flood records. And now, scientists point to hard evidence that as the disasters intensified, the Earth's surface warmed. The average global temperature last year was 14.69 degrees Celsius. That's 0.79 degrees above the average for the 20th century. Since the 1880s, the global temperature has increased by 1 degree Celsius, with scientists blaming increased emissions of greenhouse gases caused by human activity.
It is alarming. It's not surprising because we've been predicting this for 30 years, and finally it's
global warming before hundreds of millions of people across the planet will suffer from extreme heat and poverty.
You're seeing very direct impacts in heat waves, more intense rainfall events, coastal flooding because of increased sea level rise. We're seeing melting ice in the Arctic, on Greenland and in Antarctica, melting glaciers all around the world, and that's having effects on water resources. We're seeing increased drying in the summers. That's impacting droughts. It's impacting forest fires. It's impacting ecosystems.
The most ambitious goal of the Paris Climate Accord limits global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the century's end. But even then, more than a third of Himalayan glaciers will have melted. Scientists say still much more should be done to move away from fossil fuels and minimize humans' carbon footprint.
In Washington state, as the number of measles cases grows, worries are growing too. At one hospital, security guards are staking out each entrance, screening visitors for symptoms of the virus, which can be deadly.
We're taking a lot of precautions to prevent anyone from entering with any signs and symptoms of measles.
The state now has 50 confirmed cases, 49 of them in Clark County, the outbreak epicenter. Health officials say only one of those patients had been vaccinated for measles.
Is the worst of it over yet?
I don't know if the worst of it is over because we still have cases coming in.
Beyond Washington, measles has surfaced in at least 8 other states this year, including New York, with more than 200 cases reported. The virus is highly contagious, spreads through coughing and sneezing, and can linger in a room for up to 2 hours. Health officials say Clark County has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the state. Nearly a quarter of all public school students there are not fully vaccinated.
We don't have to be going through this. We have an incredibly safe, cheap, and effective vaccine. 2 doses of vaccine are 97% effective.
Opening the floodgates